king of Tristia is dead, and the Greatcoats, traveling magisters whose purpose is to uphold the king's law throughout the kingdom, stood by and allowed it to happen. Branded as traitors and unwelcome throughout the kingdom, the Greatcoats are scattered but not without purpose, for each has been entrusted with a mission given to them by the king they let die. This is the backdrop for Sebastien De Castell's Greatcoats series. The Greatcoats is a tetralogy. The books are Traitor's Blade, Knight's Shadow, Saint's Blood, and Tyrant's Throne. Before I get into the review, let me explain how I actually do reviews. Personally, I'm not a fan of a single rating for an entire series or book. Many books and series have strengths and weaknesses that a single score doesn't properly reflect. So for my reviews, I use a 5-star rating system, with the 5 being the highest, over 6 categories. And they are plot, world building, characters, magic system, writing, and enjoyment. But before I begin, these videos do take a lot of time to put together. So if you like the video, it would mean a lot to me if you subscribe to the channel and leave a like. Category 1. The plot. The entire series follows the adventures of Falco Valmond and his fellow Greatcoats, Kest and Brasti. Falco is the king's heart and the first cantor of the Greatcoats, which basically means he's the leader of the Greatcoats. Kest is known as the king's sword, and he is the best fighter among them, and Brasti is the king's arrow because of his ability with a bow and arrow. The 3 characters together are basically the 3 musketeers, but with a whole lot more camaraderie and savage ribbing and banter. Their brotherhood serves as the lifeblood of the entire series. Now, one of the things that sets this series apart from other fantasy series from the past 15 or 20 years is that it's told entirely in first person. Yes, everything that transpires is told from Falco's perspective. Now, to the general plot of the books. The first book, Traitor's Blade, we learn the history of Falco and what traumatic events led to him seeking out the king and reinstalling the Greatcoats. In this world, the Greatcoats used to be a set of traveling magisters, think judges, that travel the kingdom to listen and rule on cases. Because duels could be used to administer or uphold verdicts, the Greatcoats were not just masters of the law, but with weapons as well. We also learned the reasoning for the Greatcoats not defending the king when the dukes of the kingdom rose up to dethrone him, and also of the special missions that each Greatcoat was assigned to carry out before the king's execution. For Falco, our main POV character, his mission is to find the king's chariots. Problem is, he has no idea what that is. The first book eventually explores this mission, the secret behind it, and Falco's completion of it. But getting there takes a roundabout route, which sees Falco and his Greatcoats escort a caravan to Rijou, which happens to be in the middle of a wonderful event where people get to kill one another for a few days. His sense of justice is strong because he's a Greatcoat. Falco, for one particular murder, cannot stand by and do nothing, and he gets involved. This results in a lengthy chase scene full of fighting and eventual torture. For from these events, Falco will uncover the secret of the king's chariots, and the book concludes with the big secret being revealed in an ensuing battle. Book 2, Knight's Shadow, takes place after the events of Book 1. This book is all about consequences. Falco, as a consequence of discovering the secrets of the king's chariots, spends a lot of the book trying to persuade the same dukes that murdered his king to support a particular stance for the future of the kingdom. Falco, as a consequence of his actions at the end of Book 1, also has to deal with a physical ailment that severely hampers him. And lastly, Falco, as a consequence of certain actions that he took in Rijou in Book 1, also has to deal with a physically and emotionally traumatic event towards the end of the book. All of these consequences are presented as problems in the book and are solved by the book's conclusion. Book 3, Saint's Blood, is all about the shifting political landscape of Tristia. The saints of the kingdom, think Greek gods, are suddenly being tortured and killed. This sets off a whirlwind of political intrigue. For the dukes of the kingdom, they seek to use the debts as a sign from God to walk back the promises they made to Falco regarding the king's chariots in Book 2. The church itself uses the debts to stoke religious fervor to regain prominence. The book sees Falco investigate the murders of the saints, uncover who's behind it, and resolve it. Book 4, Tyrant's Throne, also picks up right after the events of Book 3. Tyrant's Throne, for Falco, is all about fulfilling promises. He made a promise to his king, regarding his chariots, and he tries to fulfill that promise. But more than that, despite how much his kingdom of Tristius has abused him, he made a promise to uphold the laws of the country. So when the rival nation of Avaris seeks to invade and enslave its people, he can't turn his back on them, and he must fight to protect them. The book resolves the issue concerning the king's chariots, and it delves into the conflict between Avaris and Tristia and how Falco eventually resolves it. By the end of the book, all the major questions and plot points of the series are wrapped up. Now, for my rating. 3 stars out of 5. I generally like the plots of 3 of the 4 books, but Book 3, Saint's Blood, really missed the mark for me. The religious angle came out of nowhere when it wasn't really something that was explained in the first 2 books, and the antagonist behind the murder of the saints was poorly executed. But more than that, the plot for each book in this entire series follows a very formulaic pattern. A problem is presented, Falco then investigates said problem, then Falco proceeds to get his ass kicked in the process of investigating said problem. Then Falco uses his big brain to then resolve said problem. The end. That being said, the action scenes are fast and interesting, and the problems presented to Falco are actually really unique. And the author really does do the brave thing to kill off one of his characters to inject more emotion and gravity into the series. Because of that, I can justify the 3 stars out of 5. Category 2. World building. 4 stars out of 5. The world of Tristia is varied and is made up of different factions vying for influence. You have the dukes who just want the power to do their own thing in their dukedoms and not have to answer to anyone. You have the church who is trying to reclaim the power that they lost amongst the people over time. There are knights who just want to serve and aren't too picky anymore on who they give their allegiance to. There's the Dashini, who are a faction of assassins. There's the Bardati, traveling minstrels that travel Tristia and preserves the history through song. And of course, there's the Greatcoats, who are the law of Tristia. Each of the factions are fleshed out in the series, and you learn a lot about their respective histories. Category 3. The characters. This one is really tough for me, but I'll give it 3 stars out of 5. If I had to only consider Falco, Kess, and Brasti, then this might actually be 5 stars out of 5. The dynamic between the 3 is utter perfection. Their banter is clever and sharp, and you really feel like these characters have a history with each other. But more than that, even though Kess and Brasti are not POV characters, you learn a lot about their fears and hopes through Falco. This is not something easily accomplished in books, especially told in the first person. The problem, though, is all the other characters. They all range from okay to I only exist to serve Falco. What I mean by that is that some characters only exist, I feel, to be either a fool for Falco or are there to be emotional weight for him. No character screams this more than Natalia. So, the character is introduced in book 1 as a courtesan, to put it nicely, and basically she wants to marry and run away with him. Problem is, he's only known her for a week or so up until that point. She continues to then make appearances throughout the rest of the series and always just tugs at Falco's emotional heartstrings. Yeah, there's not a whole lot of depth there. Overall, since I really do enjoy the core characters, I'll give it 3 stars out of 5. Category 4. The magic system. 2 stars out of 5. There are mages, and there is magic in this world. But since none of the core characters can use magic, and only one of the side characters can, it's never really explained or really even shown to us outside of a few times where Falco has to deal with it. The only real aspect of magic that we really get to understand is the Saints' magic because of the books 2 and 3. That's the only reason why my rank is 2 stars out of 5. Category 5. The writing. 4 stars out of 5. Sebastien De Castell's prose is a lot of fun to read. The decision to tell the story in first person is a risky one, but I think it pays off. The sarcasm and wit that oozes from Falco would never work in third person in my opinion. That, and he doesn't waste words. A lot of times you'll read a book and a character will be tasked to go to destination B from destination A in a journey that may take a week or 2. Then they proceed to grind your patience into dust by describing the 2-week journey. Castell doesn't really do that. In one paragraph, he'll say that the characters need to travel somewhere, and then the next they'll be there. It results in a quick pace that doesn't bog you down in unnecessary details. That being said, I can't give it the 5th star since there are several grammatical errors that I found throughout the series. Still, I really appreciate his style and I thought it was a breath of fresh air. Category 6. Enjoyment. 4 stars out of 5. Your enjoyment of this series will really come down to the answering of 2 questions. Question 1. Do I like the first person perspective? Question 2. Do I enjoy Falcio, Kess, and Brasty's brotherhood? If yes to both, then you'll enjoy the series like I do. If you say no to question 1, I can see you maybe not enjoying at first, but I feel like in time it might win you over with its charm. If you say no to question 2 though, after reading book 1, then you might as well stop reading altogether. The brotherhood between Falcio, Kess, and Brasty, I feel like, is the series. So without that to tie you, then nothing will. So that's my review of the Greatcoats series. I hope it helps you decide whether it's the series you want to invest in or not. If you enjoyed the video, please consider subscribing to the channel and leaving a like. And with that, I'll see you all in the next one.